This next hour, we want to talk about ethics and our value system in the country. And we are therefore joined by the chairperson of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. Before we welcome him to the show, let's remind you about the value of paying school fees on time.
Indeed, and paying them at all. Many times you're going to ask yourself the question, are we going to be able to do that come January? Well, okay, so maybe it might get a bit iffy. And Kiwi says, all right, let's help you out in that, okay? Step Up and Shine has been the mantra of Kiwi for a very long time. So even when things are getting just a little bit difficult, walk into a supermarket today and purchase a tin of Kiwi. It's the new design that you're looking for. And once you purchase that, you're going to follow the instructions on the yellow starburst here. *459 *5#. And there's a code when you pop the lid that you will then want to insert. You win airtime, you win data, then you also get a chance to enter into a draw where 4 people every week are winning 35,000 shillings. It goes towards school fees, so you don't have to worry about that just because you bought a tin of Kiwi. Do it today. Step up and shine with Kiwi.
All right. Bishop Dr. David Oginde is the chairperson of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. Okay, Bishop Emeritus, Dr. David Oginde. Good morning.
Morning.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation again.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here once again.
Thank you very much.
We're going to have a conversation about ethics. Our previous guest, Advocate Elisha Ngoya, kept telling us and reminding us once, twice, I think number of like 6 times, when we're talking about impeachment and how we get good leaders. He said, you know what, in all these cases, there's no substitution for good manners. I think that will segue right into the conversation we'll have. But to welcome you to the show, City has the day's proverb, and this week's proverbs are from Namibia.
The Republic of Namibia.
It's the Republic of Namibia.
Yes, it is. A little rain each day will fill the rivers to overflowing.
A little rain each day will fill the river to overflowing. Bwana Chairman, what's the interpretation of this proverb?
Kidogo kidogo hujaza kibaba. That's what the Swahili would say.
That's a good translation. What's the interpretation of the proverb?
That little things that sometimes may look very insignificant can make a very big difference in the long run if left to, accumulate. So it's both a positive and a negative proverb, in my view. Swahili again, usipo ziba ufa tajenga ukuta. If you don't deal with a crack, you may end up building the wall. Again, because sometimes these small things are ignored and they can grow up to be big issues. So on the negative side is that anything small that is negative and left on its own can become a big problem that eventually you may not even be able to tackle. But on the positive is that the little coins we sometimes ignore and throw or leave at the till, if you keep them little by little, you may soon find you have millions. So on the positive side, don't ignore the little that you have. It could add up to something big. That's how I understand from that proverb.
It's a very good understanding. It's a very good understanding. When you say it's both negative and positive, it's absolutely true. Because even if you look at what we may say ails this country, it didn't start as some big event.
No.
It's little things, a little here, and it just kept building.
Yeah.
A little change here, a little accommodation here, a little understanding here, a little looking the other way here, and then you look up, and then you have this monster staring at you.
Yeah.
Yes, but it didn't start as a monster.
No.
It grew as we watched.
Yes, we did. And we kept calling it something else, and yet it was showing us exactly what it was all along.
Right.
But we refused to acknowledge that what it was showing us is what it actually is.
Yeah.
Until you have no option but to admit that actually this is it.
True.
You kind of admitted something like that the other day when you said, and it's not fast growing, but has turned into, that Kenya has now turned into a valueless society. It's on the path to becoming a valueless society. So we're dealing with a little bit more than a crack.
Yeah.
The wall is about to come down from what you were saying.
Yes.
What points you to say something like that? What are you seeing that would say, okay, yes, we can say this is the reason?
I was saying that in the context as a graduation ceremony speaker, and looking at the education sector in a season when we were just going through just completed the 2 primary school exams, and then now into the secondary school exam. And the education sector is an area where we have seen this little negative things happening that have now become huge. Cheating in exams is almost expected. That's why we mobilize for primary school exams and secondary school exams. We almost mobilize the whole army of the country to supervise that. I don't know about you, but myself, when we were doing CPE at the time exams, there was no single presence of any police officer anywhere. There were just 1 or 2 invigilators.
Yep.
Our headmaster went to the local division headquarters, picked the exams the previous day, tied on his bicycle, and rode back. And the following day, we were doing exams. There was no thought that this can be stolen or somebody may open it before time and so on. And it was just normal. Now we have come to the place where even with the seals and the containers and so on, we still have to have security officers. You have to mobilize the whole government to be involved in this exam supervision. And you ask yourself, where did little children in primary school learn about stealing exams? Little children in primary school. It is not them. It is their parents who buy these exams. It is their teachers who sell these exams. It is some unscrupulous people who do that. And it has become almost normal for that to happen, so that if there is no protection, as it were, the exam would actually be flooded all around the country for people to see. And you take that all the way. I teach at a university, and you find that even at that level, there are students who do not want to do the work. They just want to get the degree. And it goes beyond that. There are people who have never seen the inside of a university, but have degree certificates that they want to present to get jobs. And we have seen that at the lowest levels, at the highest levels. Where I sit in the Anti-Corruption Commission, one of the things we deal with is cases of people who have got jobs using fake certificates. And it is not 2, 3, 4. It's in the hundreds. Cases that come to us. And you wonder, why would anybody want to get a job for which they are not qualified? So when you look at all that, then this is just one sector of education. You realize that we have lost any sense of integrity. We have to have a body like the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission to help us do the right thing. That tells you that there's a problem. If you go into your house where you find parents shouting at children, sit down, do this, don't go there, don't touch that, they have locked the fridge, they have, you know there's something wrong in this house, that is not normal. So that is where I see our country we are at. And if we don't do something, we are going to degenerate into our situation. So that is where I was coming from.
That's where you're coming from.
Yes.
Why did the rain start beating us? I'm sure you've had time to reflect and ask yourself, I mean, you've gone back into your own days sitting the primary exam to date. Why do you think the rain started beating us?
Somebody asked me that question, and I began to reflect and wonder what actually happened. And I could trace it back into the late 80s, into the 90s, when we began to have mega corruption in this country, and things were happening, and it's like they are overlooked. And so it began to become normal. That is when you talk about corruption. I'm afraid to say the Matatu set for us a culture. So we actually have become a Matatu culture nation, where when I first came to Nairobi, buses used to stop only at bus stops, Kenya buses, I mean. When an older person enters the bus, if you're a younger person, you stood and gave them the seat. And things like that. You went to the toilets in the public spaces. There were all these signs showing "Cho toilet," and you would go and look for them and go to the toilet. Then come this culture of Matatus can stop anywhere, they can pick passengers anywhere, they can overtake you, they can go in front of you, and so on. And initially, the ordinary person driving their private car would be very irritated but stay on the lane. Then with time, we realize that if you stay on the lane, you will not get there, at least not in good time. So we followed. And that has gone into almost every sector. You go to a banking hall, people don't want to queue. You go to pay your electricity bill, you don't want to queue. You want to find out who can help you go around this quickly. So the culture of shortcuts has come upon us, albeit slowly, just like the proverb said, but now it's becoming an El Nino upon us that is now wiping us out. So this culture of shortcuts, get things quickly, get rich quickly, impatience on the road, impatience in every place where we are, is now what is driving us, and it's become a culture. In fact, when you do good, you are the one who is on the wrong. I've been hit many times talking about road because I stopped at the red lights, and somebody expected that I should be going. So when I braked and stopped to wait for the red light, they were shocked.
Ramming to you.
Yeah. So it's a culture that is eating our nation, I must say.
So is it economy, capitalism?
I don't think so. There are many we are not the only capitalist country in the world. There are many good capitalist countries. In fact, they are very disciplined, because economy thrives in order, in a place where there's order. Where we are going, if we don't do anything about it, and I'm talking about all of us as a nation, this is not going to be one person. It is going to be something that we decide as a nation. If we don't organize ourselves, we are going to lose the place that we have, because nobody wants to come and do business in a chaotic environment where there are no rules and where there's no order. People want to do business where things are certain. If we agree with you that you're going to deliver, you deliver. If I promise that I'm going to do this, I do it. If I get a government certificate, I know it is real. If I have a title deed, I know it is real. But if you're in an environment where I cannot be sure that the title deed you're giving me is real, the certificate you're giving me is true, then it becomes very difficult to do business. It becomes very difficult. So that's why we have to do something. But it is nothing to do with capitalism. It has to do with bad manners. It is lack of values, lack of integrity.
There's always the adage. It's become an adage, or it's become a thing that now we say to explain it away, that you cannot legislate for morality. You cannot legislate against bad manners. the long arm of the law, because then bad manners are manifested in certain things, certain activities. We see now the pilfering, we see now the cheating, all of that manifestation of those bad manners. But then along the line, the thing is, it's a mind over matter issue. How are we getting to the point whereby we are now able to turn the hands of time? We're able to turn the needle on that kind of behavior. And I think that's the question that grapples a lot. How do you change that? Until and unless it is an individual mindset change then that occurs, you're unlikely to see the mushrooming of that kind of behavior. How do you insist that that kind of thing now occurs in the minds of every individual? It's tough.
If you followed the vetting before I got into this space where I am today, I did actually propose that fighting corruption and the bad manners that we have in this country is not going to be done through legislation, is not going to be achieved through an agency like Anti-Corruption Commission. It is going to be a whole nation approach, where we have Kenyans who believe that we cannot continue this way in every sector, whether it is in school, whether it is in a government office, a private sector, on the roads, everywhere. And we almost start like a movement of integrity, of doing things right, that I'll just not do the wrong thing. I will not pay a bribe to get a service that I deserve. I'm not going to overlap on the road. I'm not going to cheat in exams and all those kinds of things. And it is that which can transform and begin to change the culture. And if we see this at different levels, all the way from the lowest person to the highest person, and it is not just talk, it is actually doing. That is what changes culture. And then the more critical thing is that our children need to be helped from the lowest level at the young age, because some of these things you can only catch them at the young age. So by teaching, by training, but by role modeling, we can actually change and transform this nation into a cultured society. There are nations that are doing that. I mean, there's a clip that was going around about the Japanese children and how they cross the roads and thank the traffic, the vehicles that have given them way to pass and so on. It is something that is inculcated while you're young. If I go back to my childhood, when we were in school, we were taught that you respect anybody who is older than you. It doesn't matter whether it is your brother or your sister or your parents or your teacher.
Or a stranger.
Or a stranger, you just respected them. If they tell you something, you obey. And that's how we grew up. That's what we knew. And it was kind of almost ingrained in your system that you don't talk back to an older person. You don't answer rudely. But these days, you find little children telling you off in a very strange manner, and you wonder, wow, where did this one come from? So it's a whole society let me call it movement, that may have to be started by those of us who are adults and who believe in restoring our values. So we are looking for value champions in every sector.
I actually think you will not succeed, Chairman.
You think I will not succeed?
No, the movement will not succeed.
No, it will. It has succeeded in other places.
It will not succeed.
So tell me why.
You see, the places you say they have succeeded is what I will ask. Where exactly? Tell me where it has succeeded, why it has succeeded. Maybe after we take the break, Eric?
No, you can tell us now. He has given us an example of Japan.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. You see, everything the chairman said, the bishop said, is actually true.
Except.
No, there's no except. It isn't an except. It's an amalgam of very many things that more or less come together and coalesce, and they bring about a certain result. If you look at the time you were in primary school, it was around the same time I was in primary school, are we saying that the teachers were respected more in our time than they're respected now? And if so, why is it that when we were in primary school and even secondary, what the teacher said, you abided by perhaps even more than what your parents told you? In the communities that we came from then, why were teachers respected as much as they were? Because even the parents respected the teachers.
Very much. I mean, they were the most respected people in society.
Yes. The question is why, and they were, it's a past tense,
Yes.
Then what happened? See, this group of people whom you gave the power to look and bring up your children, because that's what teachers actually do for all these years. What do you think happens when the position they held and which enabled them to transmit those values we speak of, which would augment the values that the parents had, when that position is devalued, then what do you think is going to happen in that society? Because everybody goes to school at some point, even
Yes.
at the drop off.
Yes.
So the value system and the place where the support system was nestled was disrupted completely. Now, what we see, in my opinion, is an outcome. Now, the other outlaying support system that helped erode it were things like the Ndegwa Commission, the interpretation of it.
And land grabbing by the independence.
Exactly. Precisely. Because in that earlier time, it was understood that when you did wrong, you'd be called out, and you understood it was wrong, and people were afraid. People went out of their way to hide what they did, which was wrong. We are in a time when nobody hides anything.
No.
They more or less dare you to say anything. So I am saying...
So, City, you haven't told the bishop why he won't succeed.
He won't succeed because when you talk about